So for those of you who are new, all one of you, my name is Leah Kohlenberg. I run the Roaming Studio, which is an online art class program. And for many years, I was a journalist. So I didn't start drawing and painting until I was 30. And Jonathan, I really relate to you going, oh my God, I just did this 2 years ago. And look, I actually can do all of this, right? I can draw, I can paint. And I think one of the things about watercolor, I do a lot of watercolor, but I am not a watercolorist. I mostly work as an acrylic and oil painter. But I have become fascinated by watercolor just because of it's a tricky medium to control. And just so that you guys feel better about this is not something that people pick up. It's usually like the last type medium that's taught in painting school after you have a little bit more experience with other paints. That's not to make anybody feel intimidating tonight, just like, no, it's not easy, right? So a lot of what we're going to be doing today is focusing on what our watercolors do and how brushes to use and how to kind of start laying color down. I promise it will be fun. So I'm going to spotlight this. You guys can all see it. Can everybody see this? So this is a 140-pound watercolor paper. If you don't have that, just whatever paper you've got, right? If you've got any watercolor paper at all. This is just like printer paper here. This is scratch paper. Very important for watercolor because you want to be able to test. What you can't see here, and I'm going to show you, I have a cup of water and several brushes. We're going to go over brushes. This is a new $36 brush. I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to tell you all about that. And then my favorite terminology, I have what I like to call my blankie, which is just a paper towel to help us blot things. And then this is a very simple watercolor palette. Now, if you don't have one of these, all you really need is a plate. And if you don't have the tubes, which is what I'm going to do, you're just going to work with your little pats. Okay. But if you do have the tubes, the first thing I want you to do is to organize your watercolors by group according to color. So I've got a color that's ultramarine blue. You may or may not have that. I'm going to put some of it right here. Okay, and then I've got another color, another blue. It's called phthalo. Once again, you don't have to have these colors, although if you want to, I can send across a list. So if you want to buy stuff later, you totally can. But really what I want you to use and work with, this shows you how often I've been working with these. They're totally, it's wet. I can feel it inside, but I can't get to it here. Wait, here's another one. I'm just really fighting me today. Okay, here's a little bit of blue, phthalo blue. So I'm kind of organizing my blues in one category. And then I'm going to, let's see, do I have any other blues I want to put out there? I've got this color called cobalt blue. I'm going to put that out as well. If you don't have 3 distinct blues, that's okay. But just sort of organize all your blues in one location. And when this dries, you're just going to let these little pads dry. Right? So you can see these are different colored blues, although I'll make sure to send you across the thread. And then I want you to lay down. Does anybody have a green? Everybody have a green? At least one green. Okay, so
I have Viridian. Is that?
That's a green.
Viridian. Oh.
Viridian is a green. It's a great green. Oh, don't tell me this is Hooker's. This is Hooker's green, which I have sort of here. Hold on. Yes, I have Viridian green too. Once again, you got a green or two. You can lay them in. Okay. How about yellows? If you've got yellows, go ahead and lay those out. I'm going to put my yellows here. This is a yellow called gamboge. There's really no, like, most of the colors you'll find, it's kind of mustardy colored, and it's a really fantastic watercolor. The closest equivalent in acrylic or oil painting would be yellow ochre. But I've also got cadmium yellow, a couple of different yellows here. Maybe other yellows. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We want reds. So let's see. Here is quinacridone red. If you don't have that, go ahead and just lay whatever reds you've got down there. Is that right? No, I'm sorry. That's cadmium red. This is quinacridone red. Look at the difference. Red, yellow, green. And then I don't know how many of you had this. I'm going to put down here, I'm going to put burnt sienna. If you have it, if you don't worry. Burnt umber. And I think that's what we're going to stick with for the moment. So if you don't have these colors, don't worry. Whatever colors, but what I want you to do is get to know what colors you have. So if you have more than one red, put more than one red down. If you've got more than one yellow, put more than one yellow down. I've got 3 blues, I've got 1 green, I've got 2 reds, and I've got 2 yellows. So I'm going to take a, Jonathan, do you have WhatsApp on your phone?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to, let's see, I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. We have a WhatsApp thread for this class, and I think I can send you an invite. Hold on, so that you can join us. What is your share link? What's your phone number?
It's 310 766 0313.
Okay, I think I'm about to text you the link to the WhatsApp thread so you can join us. And I'm going to send a picture across so you guys can see it. What I'd like to see is what your palette looks like. I know this seems really like basic, like super basic, but there's a method to this. Here we go. And it is kind of like, do you often feel like when you're in a painting project, like that you're just kind of stumbling around blind, you don't really know what your colors do? Right. So now we are going to start, we're going to start by looking at what all our colors do. Light and dark pigmented. And I'll explain that in a minute. And then we're going to start mixing them and talking about color mixing. We're going to end with a little landscape exercise. But the really important thing is that this will stay kind of constant. If you put this on a plate, you can just let those little pats or tubes just stay there, right? And then you'll just keep returning to them. They'll dry, you can add more. So it's good to know. And then these little things, if you've got one. And Jonathan, if you don't have one of these, this is like $10. It's a fantastic.
Yeah.
And you've
I'll
got
get one.
Yeah. They're fabulous. All right. So before I start talking about what we're going to do with these, go ahead and take pictures, send across what your palette looks like. I want to talk to you a little bit about brushes. So this is a very interesting, watercolor is very interesting for me. I treat it very differently than I do acrylic paint. This is my absolute favorite go-to brush for acrylic painting. It's how I start all my paint brushes. People look at this and they're like, what? And I'm like, yes, this 50-cent raggedy ass craft brush is fantastic for working in acrylic. In watercolor, I like to use this guy. Can you guys see the, here we go. right? This is a much smaller brush. This is a brush called Escoda. It's a Italian brand. It's synthetic. I don't like using animal hairs in my brushes. So this is a synthetic brush. This is so when I'm starting in acrylic or oil, I can be much looser and rougher, and I can use a brush like this. When I'm starting in a watercolor, I want a little bit more control. So you'll notice here the brush bristles all kind of splay apart. It's really fantastic for acrylic painting. Here, the brushes, I've already gotten like paint on it. Here, the brushes, the bristles kind of blend together. So when I make a mark, I'll do it on my, let's see, I'll use some burnt umber here just to show it. It makes a very, oh, pretty. See how the bristles kind of go together? They kind of blend back together. So I have a little bit more control over this kind of brush. So I prefer, as students, people who work with me before will know, I prefer something called a flat, which means the brush goes straight across. I think the flat brush can be used for a lot of different things, as opposed to, like, say, here's a pointed brush, right? I usually don't go to this until way later in the process. And you'll notice the difference between this brush and this brush. So I'm still working bigger. I don't go to a smaller brush like this. And quite simply, it's because I can't do broad strokes. And the more marks I make on the paper, can you see how that impacts how this looks? So if I do a sweeping, hey, I can really sweep across like that. I can't do that with this little brush. If I try to do that with this little brush, it looks different. Can you see? Does not have the sweep. It doesn't have the coverage. So we want to start usually with a kind of bigger, a slightly bigger brush. Does anybody have questions about that? Is that helpful? Yeah. Okay. So your first assignment is going to be to take a pencil. Oh, what happened if I took a pencil that actually had lead in it? For each of these colors, you're going to create 2 boxes. So my first color is ultramarine blue. I'm going to label it at the top. You're going to create a dark version. Now notice I've got this little sort of piece of scratch paper. This is the paper I want to work on. This is the paper I use to test. So my brush is wet, but I want to make this as dark as I possibly can. It may take you more than one layer to do that. And then in this box, I want to go as light as I possibly can. So how do I go lighter with this same color? I dip it in water. So here I've got a little bit. And notice I'm even. So what I want is to give myself a color key where I see what this color looks like watered down, and where I see what this color looks like totally dark. So I want you to do that with every single one of your colors. Mine is beating up a little bit because this is a desk that's kind of pushing forward. You hopefully will not have that. Hopefully you're working flat. So label it at the top. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go along with you. See, I told you, you guys never thought you'd see me do anything like this, right, Mariana and Paul? But this is what we need to do. And organize them by sort of general color. We're going to talk about what these different color groupings are. But first, I want you to get to know them. Get to know the difference between your blues. And it doesn't matter if they're called this or that. Like I said, I want you to work with what you've got. In between, if you're using your same brush, make sure you kind of squeeze out all the paint so you're not bleeding blue from the second. Oh yeah, look at the difference between this blue. So I'm getting my brush wet, but I'm still loading it up with a lot of paint because I want this to be quite dark. Yeah, look at the difference. I'll send a picture across so you can really see it. Look at the difference between phthalo blue. And I can already tell that once this dries, I'm going to need to layer it again. So will also tell you something about watercolor. And now I'm getting it really wet. So I can do a light version. So I want you to do this with every color you have. And then you're going to keep this because this is going to show you what your colors, so you'll have it as a reference, right? For how your colors look washed out, because we're going to use those. And also how your colors look very dark, right? With a lot of pigment, less water. Does everybody get the assignment? That makes sense? Cool. So Jonathan, we'll tell you about ourselves, but what do you do in LA?
I'm an art director for the Jewish Journal.
That's awesome. So you're already an artist. Well, so in some way,
Yeah. I mean,
design,
Is that
right?
a free publication or is it,
it's free. Yeah.
okay.
Art director for the Jewish Journal. That's a fantastic, what a fun job.
Not really.
No, does it pay the bills at least?
It pays the bills. You know, I'm grateful for the job. You know, the reason I work for the Jewish Journal is many years ago, I worked in advertising, and my boss in advertising became the editor-in-chief of the Jewish Journal. So
he just took you with him.
so yes, yeah. Well, there was an interim years in there where
Is his name Rob Eshman?
it used to be Rob Eshman. I mean, he
Okay. Oh, you know Diana. Do you know Diana?
Diana who?
Diana
Oh,
Lundquist.
Yeah, Diana knows Rob Eshman.
Rob Eshman was when I started. Rob Eshman was the editor-in-chief, but he left, and then my boss in advertising became the editor-in-chief.
Oh, okay, that's what happened. All right.
Yeah, so I miss Rob.
Interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, but I'm grateful for the job because I had in the interim years I was doing interior design and events and that sort of thing, but it just bled money.
Yeah. Yeah, those were the days, right?
So I needed to go back to like a full-time job, and this came along, and I didn't know anything about putting
Now
a
you're
paper
scaring me.
together.
You scared me because that's sort of what I'm doing right now.
What are you doing?
Yes, go ahead. Tell everybody.
Well, I have a business services company, but you know, I'm trying to get into event planning, and I also do writing. I'm trying to put those two together. So I'm trying to write about like not interior design, but you know, I'm interested in helping interior designers find, you know, connecting them to furniture makers, and then I'm interested in. I'm actually thinking of writing about fashion at this point, just so I can get into like events and fashion shows.
Right.
Well, you're going to love the Monday class because there's a couple students there who want to learn fashion drawing. So the teacher is definitely going to go over that. That's Lotto. That's Lotto.
Which
Mari.
is that the drawing class?
Yeah, that's the drawing class.
Okay, I signed up for that. So
Yep, you sure did. So
Yeah.
Jonathan, just so that you know, you can take any class that's on our schedule for free. There are 8.
Yeah, I saw. I want to take all of them, but just my schedule.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Most of them are a little tiny bit early, like they start at 5 p.m.
Yeah,
So,
and like I really want to take the Monday
the drawing
at 5
class.
Monday at 5 class, but like Mondays are my press day at the journal, and I
Oh,
work on Mondays until like 4 a.m.
Oh yeah, there you go. Don't worry. That teacher has there's a couple more options for you. I'll talk to you about it later, like sort of later in class. That teacher is teaching another class on Sundays, which Mariana has been taking and really liking, I think. And oh, we lost Mariana. Oh, well, hopefully she will come back. And as you're doing this, note the difference. So what we're really trying to get to is the darkest. How do I, you use little bits of watercolor to get like full pigment, to get these like big dramatic washes, to make things very dark. You use a lot more water to make things light. But notice the differences between your reds, between your blues, between your yellows. We'll start talking about that. Well, hopefully Mariana will join us again. Well, that's really awesome, dude. You are welcome to whatever you can come to. There's actually a beginning drawing class on Friday nights at 8 p.m. our time that I teach. The reason it's at Friday night our time is it's for Asia. So it's like,
Oh,
yeah, so it's for them, it's Saturday. So if you want to hop into, I don't really advertise that as much because really our time zone is the only one it makes sense for. Once you get into, even like Montana, even Mountain Time, or like Mariana's in Houston, that's 2 hours. It doesn't really make any sense, for East Coast people or anything. But I'll send. I can add you to any thread you want. Just it's kind of a kicky class. I mean, I know like Friday night is not the ideal like a class, but some people might really like it. So if that's at 8 o'clock in the evening, that might work better for you.
okay, great.
And
Yeah.
they're really charming. There's like there's somebody in Singapore and people in Beijing and a
Wow.
lady in
Oh,
Sydney.
it's an international. That's cool.
Well, they're all international, but the problem is
Well,
these classes don't tend to be international because the time zones don't work.
when I don't have any plans on Fridays, I have a place that I'd go to, but I might have to,
In
I might-
the evening, I can add both of you guys to the class thread if you want. Totally can do that.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. Well, Jonathan, we also really love new blood here, so we're delighted to have you with us.
Oh, I was so excited when I got the email. I was like, wow. It's like I've
It's
never.
such a great, isn't it a great thing? Sort of a little, what do you call it? A little perk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And making little boxes. There she is. Hey, Mariana.
Hi, sorry, I just lost the internet. I'm back.
That's all right. I just wanted you to introduce yourself to Jonathan since he's new.
Oh, yes, I'm a journalist. I work for Reuters in Houston.
Oh.
I cover oil. She's not so fun.
Yes.
oil's fun.
It's kind of the worst. You do see the worst of people. I see what you're saying.
Well, yeah.
You don't get to
Yeah.
see the best of people.
But I got you. There are worse things to cover. I agree with you.
Yes, rape, murder. Well, I bet
Yeah,
you.
yeah, crime, whatever. Yeah, that's worse.
Yeah.
I bet you
Oh.
you get more freebies than most people.
Before, yes. Not so much right now because it's controversial.
Right.
Yeah.
And people probably don't like you very much because you report on things.
Oh, I'm used to it. Yeah, people don't like me. I have like
They're
haters.
probably
and
like,
I
oh
don't have
shit,
any-
here comes Mariana. Damn it.
I'm used to be either loved or hated very much.
Yeah.
Because not because of the oil, because of being Venezuelan, and the Venezuela situation is like super polarizing. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, you're from Venezuela.
I'm Venezuelan, yes. I moved to
Oh,
the
okay.
US in 2013.
Wow.
Just in time to watch our dictator take over.
Yeah. Just some time for escaping.
I'm reading a book on campaigns now.
Political campaigns?
Well, on a political campaign, the 72 presidential campaign.
Oh, that
Oh.
was an interesting one. You mean the US presidential campaign?
Yeah, Nixon and McGovern.
Yep, that was an interesting one. Very interesting.
And Hubert Humphrey McGovern. Kennedy was shot. They were trying to get Ted Kennedy to be the candidate. He didn't want any part of it.
All right, and you'll notice I've sent, you can see mine across here. I've also sent it across the thread so you can see the color more clearly. I might go in here and see if I can darken with another layer. Hey, Victor. So see, I'm actually, now that it's dry, going over it and darkening it a bit. So if you want to, you can do that as kind of a second layer to your, I'm going to do it again over here. I'm just now my brush is just kind of slightly damp. I'm mostly layering. Now, so you look at me, just notice, so watercolor is a layering, first and foremost, it's a layering color, right? And if you use a lot more color, and Jonathan, this is why I like working with the tubes. I feel like I get a little bit, like pats are fine, and I'm glad you have them because it's perfect for getting started. But like with the tube, I can kind of scoop up a little bit better. And so it can apply kind of darker. So I can actually go back over and make these darker.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, let's see here. So Paul, your yellows and your greens look, do you not have any reds?
Oh, you know what? I forgot. I'm doing the reds. I forgot.
Okay,
I'll bring them
now.
right up. Yeah.
I really like how your blues look, but your light green and your yellows, they look exactly the same in value. And so one is not darker, the other isn't lighter. Notice how my yellows are really dark.
Yeah, it also has to do with the palette. I don't think I cleaned the palette is not as
So
let me go back and retry the palette and see it.
Now. Fix it. And go over with that dark and kind of darken those layers. And the reason I can tell that is that when let's see, I'm going to have to share this. This is the one. Let's see. Okay, I have to pull this out of, I'm going to turn this black and white and show you how you can't really tell the difference in value. I'll do this with each of your palettes, actually. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to edit it. So it matters, value matters. So what is value that I'm yammering on and on about it? Value is the lightness or darkness of any color. And you'll really see it. So Paul, you'll see the ones that are working and you're going to see the ones that are not working. See them? So value is the lightness or darkness of any color. And you can really tell the difference when you turn your colors into black and whites. So all of these top ones should be darker and all these light ones should be much lighter. Did you see that, Paul? I've just sent it back across as a black and white.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, so take a look. It's an interesting, so I want very clear definition.
Okay.
Dark and light. Is anybody noticing anything? Is there anybody observing anything about this process or how watercolors work? You're seeing learning anything about it as you're doing it? Is it harder to lighten than you think?
Oh, yeah. It is.
So really, so Jonathan, one of the things you can do is have this test paper, and before you lay down, right, paint here, lay it down there, and that'll tell you, oh, that's way too light. So I'm going to dip my brush in water again. That is like more right dark, and this is much lighter. This is the lighter color. So always have a test piece of paper that doesn't really matter, that's not on something super nice, and then you can test and see if you need to dip your brush in water more. How's this going for you, Mariana? Kind of fun?
I'm almost finished.
Good.
I'm gonna show it to you.
Good. And keep this and add to it, because then you'll know what your colors like, right? Like if you keep that.
I still have the one we did together before. Let me show you.
I can't even remember.
I still use this one that we did together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like this one better though. I found this in a book. I like this one as well. So you use that and you look at them, right?
I use it, yeah, I use it because sometimes it confuses me. For example, the browns are not like super like intuitive. I cannot tell
Not remember which one is which, right?
which one is which. Yeah,
What
yeah.
they do. It helps to see what they do. Yes, and when you're all done, we're going to talk about we'll talk about the color wheel and color relationships. We'll also do a little bit more practice of different types of watercolor strokes, and then I'm going to give you a little assignment to try.
Do you know, Leah, I started using the watercolor with you using the tubes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I bought this thing that I thought it was easier. Let me show you.
Little pat. Do you
Yeah,
like it better?
this is the one that Paul uses, the one in paste.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like it.
Let's see. Hold it up so I can see
Let
it.
me open it. Yeah.
Let me see. I know gearheads. You can get really gearheady about this stuff. I really love it. Oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Fun.
But I don't like it because I feel like I not control the
Can't mix
pigment.
as much. Yeah, you can't mix it as well.
It's
I
like
agree.
if you know you gotta add water in the thing, so sometimes it's too watery.
Yep.
How
Yep.
do you fix
That's
it?
the problem with the pads. You're absolutely right. But you know
Yeah.
what? It's useful to have both, naturally.
Yeah, this is nice for traveling. This is nice for traveling because
Yeah.
you just, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt to have a lot of colors, right? Like these are not all the colors I have. They're just all the colors. I wanted to keep it kind of controllable. We can add to our colors. You will see that, yes, sometimes I think the pats are better for washes, but if you're wanting to get really intensely dark, you want to scoop up some of that. You want to like really load your brush with some of that, and it's easier to do it with the tubes. That's what
Also, I feel like they mix better. You don't find particles.
Yep, that's right. That's right. It's interesting because but you know, also, as I said, I really come from this as an acrylic oil painter. So I feel like I'm not a classic watercolorist. Like that's not, although I do plenty of watercolor. I was just visiting a patron's house. Somebody buys a lot of my paintings. She has a ton of watercolors done by me. I completely forgot that I had done all these watercolors. So it's not like they don't. Oh, very nice. You did a medium too. Although Mariana,
Yes,
I like
I
this.
was confused. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm gonna do what I did with Paul's. Let's turn this into a black and white and see where you can push the value a little bit.
Yeah, I guess the blues are not great. The blues are not.
Let's take a look at it. I'm gonna turn it black and white and we'll take a look at it. Let's see, Jonathan. Ooh, very nice. So Jonathan, can you take a picture straight up, looking straight down on it?
No, because of the shadow.
Oh, really?
That's-
You wanna
I'll,
move it?
I'll do it to show you.
Okay, or stand behind, move around on the back maybe and stand behind it. I see exactly what you're saying.
Like, oh, here, well, okay, I think,
Yeah, if you get it, it would be helpful just so that we can see them. Let's see.
let's try this one.
Right. And actually, this will be better if you guys do it. So Mariana, actually, can you turn this to a black and white and send it to us?
I think so, yeah.
Since it's in your camera?
Yeah.
Let's- Oh yeah, that's fabulous, Jonathan. Absolutely fabulous. Can you label, do you know the names of these colors? No, they look, although you should be able, I can probably tell you. They're not
No, I
labeled.
don't, but I'm gonna redo this exercise because I'm gonna get tubes, so.
Right. I have a list. I'll send it to you. There's a list that you can get so you can get the colors. But you'll notice they look a lot the same as mine. So definitely one of these is ultramarine and one actually looks to me like one is cobalt and one is like a phthalo.
Yeah, when I bought the set, it came with like a little thing, and I've been looking for it as I'm sitting here and I can't find
Yeah,
it.
and this is good because you get kind of a feel. We'll talk about it in a second. You can see you have kind of a warm red, a kind of yellowy orange red, and a pinky red, like me.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got this kind of like cool yellow. So Jonathan, what I want you and Mariana to do is turn this picture that you just sent into a black and white and resend it.
Okay.
Just make it black and white. Just like it. So Mariana, where this really works, can you notice areas where you do not have the darkest value at the top?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so it's amazing how quickly it
Yeah.
is. So go ahead and adjust that by darkening your top layers.
Okay.
Okay, what on this iPhone do you use to make it black and white?
That's a good question. I can do it. for you.
The photo editor, just a photo editor, edit
Yeah.
the photo and see a filter black and white.
If you're in WhatsApp, I don't think you can edit it. You have to do
No.
it. from your-
No, you gotta go to the photo editor.
gotta
Yeah,
go to-
I'm in photos now. I'm just there's like all these different
Yes,
things
so
here.
they're gonna find the filters. So
There'll be a black and white filter.
yeah, yeah.
It's a good thing to do because this is something that you'll do. And here, I'll do it with mine while we're at it.
I have highlights, I have shadows, I have contrast, I have brightness, black point,
Filter.
saturation.
I'm gonna watch this.
Huh.
All right, well, I can do it if you can't do it, and then you can find it another time, don't worry. Here, I'm gonna send you mine as a black and white, just so you can see. So there are mine. I could get a little bit darker here. So
Yeah.
here, Jonathan, I'm gonna do yours really quick so you can see it, because I want you guys to be able to adjust as you need to. So give me just a second. I need to share this
Okay.
outside. Give me just a second. Here it is. Where are you? There we are. This is such a cool thing. All right, there we go. I have to save it, go in, get it. It's incredible how many dumb things I have to do to be able to edit this.
Leigh, I'm gonna go get some tea, if that's okay.
ahead. All right. Here we go, and there we go. Okay. So you'll see, Jonathan, your values are pretty good. Except where are we missing? Can you see the areas where you don't, where like the value, and when I say value, I mean the darkness or lightness of the
Yeah.
color. So you can see the areas where it doesn't, where you need to get darker.
Yeah.
So go ahead and get darker in those.
Okay.
Yeah, layer more color on, see how that works for you. Watercolor always dries a little bit later.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's good to go lighter than darker when you're getting started, but it's good to know like what these paints do, like how they get dark and how they get light.
Oh yeah, the second layer goes on very nicely.
Yeah. All paintings happen in layers. We layer on, in watercolor, we kind of layer light to dark. And acrylic and oil, you do the opposite. You layer darks and then you put your lights on top. And that is because the layers dry and then they don't mix, right, with the layers below them. It's amazing. It's really amazing process.
Although it's hard to make this yellow darker.
Yeah, so less water, more. And you'll find, as Mariana was saying, right, it's a little bit harder to scoop up enough pigment to make it.
Yeah.
We lost everyone. Hopefully they'll get back. I've seen them come back at some point. So yeah, Jonathan, some people come into these classes privately and pay for them
Uh-huh.
on their own. Others come through either the LA Press Club or Reuters news agency, possibly one or two other companies. If we can, we've had BuzzFeed join us in the past. We've had NBC News join us in the past.
It was so nice that you do that.
Oh, it's fabulous. It's a lot. I mean, you know, they pay, your companies pay.
Yeah, but it's so nice that you do that though. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, to teach art, I think is a very nice thing to do because, you know, it's a wonderful service to humanity.
Right. We all need to do it a little bit more. And, you know, it's one of those things, it's so funny. Everybody thinks, like, nobody thinks they should learn to, they should know how to read or write right off the get-go. We spend years, actually, we spend years learning how to talk too. Like how to talk, how to read, how to write. These are all skills that take many years to develop, but somehow we don't think of drawing and painting in the same way. We feel like we should just know how to do it. But just like any of the other systems that I just talked about, there's steps that you take. I think painting and drawing is really like reading. You know, when you're reading, there's all these steps you go through. You have to learn, first you learn what the letters look like, and then you learn how they sound, and then you learn how to string them together, right, to make words. And then you learn how to put words together in sentences. And then from that point, learning those four things, the phonetics, the spelling, the physical space that words take up, and how the letters work together, you learn the gestalt of language, right? You learn
Right.
what things mean, and you practice those four things so that you can learn so you can get the gestalt. Drawing has the same thing. You have to learn about, and so does painting. You have to learn sort of basics about dark and light. You need to learn what is dark and what is light, right? And how does that translate to color? Contrast, you need to learn about edges, the edges of things. You need to learn about shapes of things. And then you need to learn how much space things take up on like a flat surface. And then from there, like as you start to learn those things, then it kind of clicks. Oh, here's how I draw a thing, right? Here's the gestalt of the thing that I'm drawing. So you have to practice those things. And it's so much fun. Yeah, you're right. It's a really fun thing to do. I mean, I'm not a journalist anymore, so I definitely like moved out of that role. Although I credit art directors for moving me into painting sort of unconsciously. Excellent. I think I need to make my yellow darker. Yeah, we can get a little bit darker. Huh. My Gamboge is going to start dripping any second now. Okay, Paul, have you adjusted yours? Do you think you've got good darks and lights on everything?
No, it's still looking green on the yellows, to be honest. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on.
You have blue in your brush.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Water.
Let me switch. Let me try to switch out the water,
Yeah,
and
that's
then we'll yeah, that should be fine.
Yep.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I need to switch out my water too.
Good. Great. It's a great moment to get up, stretch. Hey, Mariana.
Sorry, my internet is just.
Yes, that's okay. We're going to expect you to pop in and out as long as you're doing the assignment. All right. What I want is for all of us to get to the point where we've got all of our paint colors as a dark and a light version. You know, a very, what we would call saturated version and a very watered down light version. And they should read as dark and light. There should not be, the ones on the top should be dark, the ones on the bottom should be light. And when you turn it into a black and white, so when you think you've got that, we'll move to the next exercise. If you need to change your water out, that's better, Mariana. If you look at your Viridian, those two in the middle are the same. The middle and the top are the same.
Yeah,
So
I have a question.
why don't you do a little bit of a wet paper towel and blot out the middle one? See if you can pull a little bit out.
Okay, I got it. Okay, because I was gonna tell you, with some colors are more saturated than others, right? So
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true. But it doesn't mean that you can't do them light.
yeah, like yes, yeah,
Yeah. That's beautiful. Oh, they're so beautiful. Does anybody have a favorite color as they're looking at it? Does anybody?
I do.
Yeah. What's the ones that you're liking the most?
Ultramarine blue.
Ultramarine blue. It's pretty fabulous. Look at what ultramarine.
I'd have to go with phthalo. I just can't. There's something about it. It's not that it's like visually appealing. I mean, it is. It has its own visual sense.
Really
But just
appealing. I think phthalo is beautiful. It's like the sea or
Yeah.
something.
I like
No,
the
I think
pink.
like a blue bottle fly, actually.
A blue bottle of what?
A blue bottle fly.
A blue bottle fly. Yes.
Yeah.
And I have a new favorite, which is cobalt blue, which this almost has a kind of purpley color, and this looks green. You notice this? Does everybody have a
Oh,
blue
yeah.
that becomes a little bit purplier as it gets later and a little bit greener as it gets later? Cobalt is kind of a little bit more in the middle. It's actually kind of between those two. So the blue that is a little bit lighter, and if you want to, you can label it this way, is a warmer blue. The one that looks a little bit more purpley is warm. And the one that looks more green, the blue that looks a little bit more green or, you know, turquoisey, that's cool. And I call this one a neutral. You may or may not have one. And then you can do the same thing with your cadmium, with your reds. There's a red that looks a little bit more orange, and you can often tell, sometimes you can tell at the darkest, sometimes you have to look at both the dark and the light to really see it. This is the cadmium red is a little bit orangier, and that, or whatever your red is, you might not know what your red is, it's kind of warm. And there's a red that looks pinkish, more pinkish.
Yeah, I like that one.
On the blue side. So that's cool. So you can label these as warm and cool. See, Mariana, we're finally getting to warm and cool.
I don't think so. I'm no hope.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's super complicated. I'll do it the opposite way.
Right. I think these colors are both warmish. Although if I was to, this yellow to me looks warmer. It's a cadmium. This gamboge looks a little cooler. Burnt umber and burnt sienna are both warm. So do you not see a difference, Mariana, between
No,
the blues?
I see the difference between the colors. What I cannot do is to classify which one is warm.
Okay, so this is
In my
what I'm,
mind,
so
warm
this is
red.
this is what I'm trying to tell you. Take a look down your sheet. You will see that the ultramarine blue has a little bit of a purpler.
Yeah.
It's warmer. The phthalo blue looks more like sort of green. Okay, so that this ultramarine blue, as it gets cool, as it gets purpler, that means it's got a slight bit of red in it, and that makes it warmer.
Okay, so everything with red is supposed to be warm. So
No.
no,
I didn't say that. You're trying to apply a rule in a way that makes no sense. I want you to really look at it and feel it.
okay, I don't feel it. I don't feel it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll label it then. Ultramarine blue has warm.
Okay.
When I compare that to phthalo blue, there's a significant difference. Phthalo blue is a lot bluer. There's no red. There's no yellowy. There might be a little bit of yellow in it, but it's definitely. I see why it doesn't make sense to you. It may never.
You might never, because it's not necessarily red is not necessarily warm. Yellow is not necessarily
Well,
warm.
they are mostly all right. So I want you to think about it. Red tends to be warmer. Yellow tends to be warmer, but within each red, there are cool and warm reds. Blues tend to be cooler.
Yeah.
Greens tend to be cooler, but within each, there are the warmer and cooler versions.
I got it.
So, yes, so I guess you can say that if you look at this ultramarine blue and you see that as it gets lighter, it gets kind of purpley. That means there's a little bit of red in it. And yes, in that case, that's kind of an indication of warmth. There's no red at all in this phthalo blue, right? It's kind of green, which appears cool. When you compare like warm and cool, cadmium red is more orange. Quinacridone red, this pink, it's a little bit more bluish.
So by example, vermilion red, which is kind of an orangey.
But yeah, vermilion red would be warm. Yeah, it's a little bit more. If your red is more orangey, it's a warm red. If it's more pinky, it's a cool red.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
You may be overanalyzing it a little bit. But that's okay. But this is okay because this hits when it hits. When you get it, it makes sense. Cool and warm. I'm not so worried about cool and warm today. I just realized we could write this down. All right, so let's talk very quickly about the color wheel. Anybody know what the 3 primary colors are that all colors are made out of?
Think
Anybody?
so.
Yeah, what are they?
Red.
Red, green, and blue.
Nope.
Yeah, red, yellow, and blue. The
Red,
primary.
yellow, and blue. Yes. So I'm going to create a color wheel here, and you can do the same if you want. I'm taking my cooler red. You'll see why soon. And yellow. And I'm going to create kind of a little triangle with my colors. I'm cleaning my brush off in between. Notice I did blue last. Oops, I did not clean the yellow off enough. There we go. Okay. So we've got yellow, red, and I still got a little bit of green in there. Here. Where's my blankie? Oh, I dropped it. There we go. Sometimes you can pull paint off. There we go. So these are the three primary colors. Red, red, primary, yellow, primary. And we call them primary because we use these to make all colors. Blue. We've got these three primaries. If I mix blue and yellow together, what do I get?
Green.
Excellent. So there are secondary colors which are made up of here. So go ahead and try and mix yourself a green from blue and yellow that you like.
Isn't that the color of the Venezuelan flag?
Yellow, blue, and red, yes, and the stars are white.
Cool.
It's all the Andean region, by the way. So Bolivia, Ecuador, Colombia.
Oh, yeah,
Green,
they're all the same.
Yeah,
green is green is what we would call a secondary color or tertiary. Doesn't really matter. What happens when you mix red and yellow together?
orange.
So go ahead and make that. Practice mixing colors that you find pleasing, not just muddy colors. So if you don't get the color that you like, maybe switch out your red or switch out your, switch out one of your, we have more than one right version of each primary. So if you don't like the color that you're mixing, my orange didn't feel orange enough to me. So I switched from my cool red to my warm red. Get a more orangey. There we go. Orange. And mix. And then, of course, red and blue make
Purple.
purple. Yes. So now you're going to want to mix a red and blue to make a purple. And you will find if you use the wrong red, your purple does not look purple. It looks
Brown.
brown. So what's the wrong red? Let's say
The
John.
wrong red is the warm red, right?
Yeah, you got it. You get it.
Because I have I have written it down.
Sound good. You're the best note taker ever. So if you want a good purple, you want to use a cool red.
Cool red, yeah.
Okay.
So Quinn
We
red
got
would be good.
these, and then here we have our basic color wheel. So go ahead and make yourself a color wheel. If you need to, get a new piece of paper, do it twice. Here, I'm going to send this in. Here we are. There's my color wheel. Now I'm not worried about value so much. I do want kind of, even though we're mixing, we want kind of intense, we want good, strong, beautiful colors. Yeah, my blue is okay. It's a little bit namby-pamby, but the rest of it's doing pretty well. So here's mine. And I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, guys. I'll be right back. Let's see. Oh, Jonathan, nice. Nice. Great. Go ahead and circle them and label them. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. These are important colors. I'm going to refer to them over and over again. These guys are going to tell you that I'm going to make you crazy with the amount of time I talk about these 6 colors. Right, guys? Am I going to drive him crazy, guys? They're quiet. They're like, whatever. Okay. So here is, oh, we lost Paul again. Let me wait until Paul gets back up and then I'll tell you the next step here. I just want to remind him. Jonathan, I'll be right back. I'm getting tea. If you would
Okay.
like, get up and take a little tea break.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Mariana, are you ready? Can we talk about this now? We may not have Paul back for a little while. By the way, Jonathan, the other thing you need to know is that all of this lesson and almost all lessons are recorded. So they will go up on the YouTube channel for Ring Studio. And there are already 2 years worth of classes there.
Oh, wow.
Organized by, you can go back and take a look, although I've never taught anything quite this sort of basic for watercolor. So I'm really excited about the classes we're about to do. We've not really done them before, but you can get this class. Usually takes a couple days. I have somebody edit it and take some of the WhatsApp pictures and edit them in. So you'll be able to see it. Okay. Hi, Holly. Well, I'm going to test her to see if she's listening. So these classes are these colors are very, very important. The primaries and the tertiary or the secondaries. If you notice, these colors sit across, these 3 colors sit across each other directly across each other from the color wheel. Red and green, blue and orange, and yellow and purple. Write these down because these are the complementary, here, flip this over a little bit. The complementary color pairings, complementary color pairs are these 3 pairs. You probably already know this, Jonathan, as an art director. I bet you use this all the time.
No.
Complementary color pairs are important because when you put purple and yellow next to each other, when you put complements next to each other, they pop each other forward.
Yeah. That's why I always like these colors next to each other.
Yeah, well, everybody does, right? Like they're sports colors, they're like college and high school color. They're very often like mascot colors.
Yeah.
Purple and yellow, blue and orange, red and green, obviously kind of famously Christmassy colors, right?
Yeah.
So if you put these next to each other, they pop forward. Right. If you mix them together, they create a gray. They neutralize. They make different grays.
Huh.
Yep. So you're going to try that now. So maybe, maybe we need to do this on another sheet of paper. Let's see, Maria. So yeah, Mariana, give yourself a make that into a circle. You kind of created it into a, rope in that yellow there and turn that into a circle, right? This is a circle. And yeah, there you go. Perfect. And then notice what is across from each other. What's directly across from each other on these circles are red and green, blue and orange, purple and yellow. So if you remember, complementary colors are really important because if you put them next to each other, they pop each other forward. And if you mix them, they create a grayed version of the other. So if you are painting a red apple and you want to paint the shadow of the apple, you do not make the apple, you do not use black. You mix red with a little bit of green to create a grayed version of the other color. And depending on how neutral you want to make it is how much of each you use. So just to show you how this works, let's see. I think we need to go to another piece of paper. So I'm going to pop this up here. Wait, I'm going to push this up just a little bit. I think we've kind of done this. I'm moving to a second piece of paper. You're welcome to do that if you want to. Let's practice this a little bit. Try mixing a little bit of yellow with a tiny bit of purple. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of purple here, mixing it in with the yellow. Blue and red. Oops.
I'm getting like a
This means you're not keeping your colors clean. You're getting a green.
yeah, I'm mixing the warms and the cools, I think.
Well, no, I just think you've got too much junk.
No, I mean it's fine. My orange looks more like a it looks orange. No, it's fine. At first it was looking brick colored, but now it looks here.
I
I'll send
think
it to
you're
you.
not cleaning up your brush enough. And I think you should be squeezing your brush. I think you need to be cleaning your brush up a lot more, Paul, than you're doing. And you're also not making
Yeah.
sure that your palette is clean. So
That too.
if you see that one, so I think that's that you really need to make sure you've got a clean. So I'm mixing a little bit. I'm mixing enough. Oops, I just lost my. Here we go. So I'm mixing purple. I'm kind of trying to mix a dramatic darky purple. That in itself is tricky. And now I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to it to make it kind of grayish. So see if you can make something that looks gray to you. You don't want it to look, it might be slightly greenish. Oh, that's nice. That's interesting. So there it is, dark. Here it is. Oh yeah, here it is a little bit lighter. That's definitely gray. And if I want to kind of gray it more, because it looks a little on the red side, I'll add a little blue to it. So practice mixing grays from the three complements and label it as you do it. This is it itself a practice.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't expect it to be like perfect right away. What you'll notice is, so really you've got three colors in there, right? You've got two that mix the primary, the two that mix the one tertiary color, and then you've got the one primary.
Yeah.
So the balance is off in the tertiary mix. You'll just notice that it doesn't look gray. It looks kind of like red, right? So to make that less gray, try putting a little bit more blue in. And if it looks too blue, try putting in a little bit more yellow. And then keep trying to throwing in like, so play around with that color mix. Here's my green. I'm actually just gonna take my green. I have a Viridian green here, so I'm not gonna try and mix it. I've got Viridian green, and I'm gonna mix that with red. And I'm gonna do a dark version. Oh yeah, I need more, a little bit more red in there. It's funny because you'll notice some red can be a very overpowering color. So you might have to, oh, yep, see, I pulled too much red. Now I need a lot more green. So you may have to try it a couple of times before you get something that you like. You might be like, I'm going green, I'm going red, I'm going green, I'm going red. When am I going to get this here? This feels a little bit more like a gray to me. And then I'm going to lighten it, just like I did with these colors up here, just to see how it looks lighter. And if you don't try to get it, we're just learning in these exercises, right? So we're starting to learn about mixing. Mixing is not like half of one thing and half of the other. It's usually, if you're trying to like, and particularly if you're trying to mix a neutral. So if you're, say, painting an apple, as I discussed, right? And you've got the kind of warm part of the apple, the light part of the apple here, right? And then you want to get to the dark part of the apple. Here, let me put this. I just want a tiny bit of green in my red. I don't need that much green in my red to make kind of a dark red. If I'm trying to do the opposite, if I'm trying to do, say, a green apple, right? And then I want to make a shadow of that, I might just add a tiny bit of red to my green, maybe not very much. Right, to have a kind of greenish influenced apple. So not that these really look like apples, but you know what I'm saying. So play around, notice, play around with how the different complements. I'd like to see some examples of a light and dark gray mixed from each of the complements. So this is red and green, this is blue and, this is purple and yellow. I'm gonna try blue and orange next. Here's orange. There's a touch of blue. There's a touch of blue, a little bit more. Oh, that's an interesting. Blue. Yeah. Here, oh, that's way too yellow. So I'm noticing this particular mix is way too yellow and red, so I'm pulling in way more blue to make it read into my mix, to make it read more gray. And I think I achieved that on the second layer. So there's my blue and orange dark, and here it is light. So notice how these different grays. So over and over again, when we start mixing colors and I talk to you and we start going through more complex projects, which we will, and I start talking to you about color mixing, I'm going to often be having you mix from the complements. Burnt umber and burnt sienna read as orange or red. So you could mix them with blue to get certain effects, and you can mix them with green to get certain effects. Oh, let me get it. And I might make this look easy. I have been doing this 20 years. If it doesn't exactly work the way you want it to, do not despair. Mixing is a practice. Send it over and I'll see if I can troubleshoot. We might do a little landscape today. We may not. I kind of like where this class, but the class goes till 8, so, or 9.
This class goes till 9?
No, 8. Our
Oh.
10 o'clock Mariana's time. It just depends on where you are, Paul. And remember, guys, that figure drawing is on Thursday. And that is also starting at 5 o'clock our time, 5 o'clock West Coast time, 7 o'clock Houston time. Figure drawing is also a fantastic class to do if you're a beginner. I know that seems really terrifying, but actually because it's so hard, you kind of let go of any ideas of perfection, and then it makes it actually possible to learn to draw. All right, Paul, yeah, this is too muddy. Your orange is too muddy. And
Here's another one. I have another one.
And also, Paul, I want you to put, I'm sorry, if that wasn't clear, your red, your yellow, and your blue should be here. The color that you mix should be in between the two, not somewhere else. Because
Okay.
that's how we make this.
I'll have to redo it. Okay.
Yeah, redo it because you need to sort of redo the mixing a little bit. Because you want these colors to look a little bit more saturated and pure, so that you can start to mix grays. Is anybody having any success with this at all? Has anybody mixed a gray they like, or is it all too muddy? I mean, gray is muddy, so that's part, you might be more successful than you think. And in the last, I think I want you to do this for another 10 minutes, and then we're gonna try a teeny little landscape, just a teeny one. Not a teeny one, but just a simple one. So Paul, what's the most interesting thing you found in this book you're reading about the Nixon election?
Musk, when Muskie was on the he was on a train. Someone with a fake press just like grabbed his leg and like lunged at him. They're just like, rawr. he was gonna address the crowd, and he just grabbed his leg.
Like you mean like what happened last week with the Republicans?
No, well, yeah, but I mean, he was just like he was like this. They in the book they call him a boohoo. He was a quote unquote boohoo, and yeah, and he was just like flinging insults at everyone on the train for the entire. He just like, he just wreaked havoc and just struck terror. Like everyone was just scared. Like, who is this crazy person?
Yes. So interesting.
And of course, they spin it. Anything that happens, the camp spins everything to to their liking, and that, so there was that, like, how the interesting to see how the campaign people just like have their textbook plans, and yeah, it's really fascinating. And then another interesting part was as they were where was it? It was at the I think it was at the Democrat, well, in the 68 convention, I think, was they had some stories about the 68 convention and how that was just like they actually physically, the police physically stampeded someone's campaign. I'm forgetting whose it was. It wasn't Humphrey, it was someone else. I think it was Eugene McCarthy. Yeah, they just like they took the door down and they just like ran in and they just took everything. They just like just wreaked havoc on them. It was horrible. Yeah, it was at 19. Yeah, the 68. It's kind of, which is interesting. It proved it just showed that the police could do, had the arm of the police arm of the government has the power. The sweeping arm was just demonstrated, most likely unconstitutionally. It was unconstitutional what happened there.
Most likely, definitely unconstitutional.
It's not. Yeah, it just unconstitutional. Yeah.
It's amazing what bullshit people get. I think it's okay to say that on a recording, right? I don't think we have anybody. We generally stay away from political. Do we actually stay away from political conversations in this class? I don't know if we do. We probably are.
We don't. I think we're pretty good about it. I mean, we don't really get heated on these things. So.
Well, I think we all agree. But that's a terrible thing to say. I think you all believe what I believe. I don't know. That may or may not be true. So anyway, we generally stay, but it's an interesting, we are, as the Chinese say, cursed by living in interesting times. So.
Who said that? Somebody said that.
It's an ancient Chinese.
No, somebody said that like currently.
Oh yeah, lots of people say it. Somebody said it. Somebody did say it currently. I can't remember who, but.
Oh, I know who it was.
Who?
It was King Charles. Yeah.
Oh. What else?
in his Christmas, I remember that from his Christmas address. Have you been watching did you watch the 60 Minutes?
No.
Yeah. With was it Harry? Prince Harry?
Oh yes, I've heard about that. How's it going, guys? Anybody found anything they like? I'm going to send across these so you can see a little bit about how it's really hard to tell color.
I found I don't like using my watercolor pad.
You're going to want some of the, you're going to want some of these tubes. I will make sure to send across. I have a watercolor list.
I saw. I was clicking links associated with this class, and I came across like some supplies. Is that maybe what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But if you want, I can just literally, if you're just going to go buy tubes, I could just literally give you a list on this class of the colors that I like to use. And then you can start with those and then add on as you like.
Okay.
That's a fun way to, it's a slightly more expensive, but then like at the end of it, look at how much this will last for a really long time. You'll have paint that will last.
Yeah.
I mean, that little pile will probably last you, several weeks. So it's kind of worth it. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to, Jonathan, try taking your blankie, find a
Yeah.
clean place on your blankie that's wet, and kind of clean off the top of the pat to make it a little bit less muddy.
That's what I've had to do. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to kind of rub it out. It's interesting. What's nice about these is that these stay kind of clean, right?
Yeah.
And you pull the colors down here, right? Like I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's really nice about a palette like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll work for a little bit longer. I want to see everybody produce at least one gray that they like and send it across the thread. One gray, dark and light, that you're happy with. For me, that's this one. It was the blue and the orange. I really like how the gray turned out. You'll kind of never realize how many grays there are. Nobody say it. Don't say it. Don't say 50. Don't say 50 shades. And then when I see a gray from everybody, we will do the last thing. Let's see. That's pretty, Mariana. The one that you put your, can you make it darker and lighter? Make it darker and then a little bit lighter. I want to see a darker version and a lighter version. I like it too. Everything else is a little bit too yellowy, right? So there's too much yellow in the other grays, but I like that one that you pointed out. So I'd like to see you make gray. Make a
Yellows that we're not working for gray. Yeah, you have to use yellow or gray, according to me, for doing that one.
Okay, great. That's fabulous. It's a pretty one. So see if you can build a lighter and a darker. I like it. I'll be waiting for one on you. And Jonathan, if you think you've got one, send it over. And yeah, totally. Let's see. Woo. Orange and blue. Nice. That's the same? Just like just lighter?
Yeah.
Interesting. It's so yellow on the lighter version and so dark on the second. It looks like you used phthalo. It looks like you used a cool blue for your mix. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Yeah.
Yep, I can tell. It's a little bit greener. If you try it with the warmer blue, the one that turns out purple, you'll try it just, I'm sorry, I'm going to make you do just one more. Try with the warmer blue.
Okay.
And orange and see what happens. And if you want to, you can also, if you've got burnt sienna, one of these browns, burnt sienna, burnt umber, you can also mix ultramarine blue with one of those. Ooh, pretty, Paul. What is that made? What did you make that out of? Beautiful.
I mixed purple with yellow.
Excellent. Perfect. Can you make a darker and a lighter version?
Sure.
Great.
That's a dark technically, but I can go darker.
You should
I
go
need
darker.
more paint though.
Go darker.
I started.
And then
Okay,
of course you've got to
so-
remix it, right? Exact, which is a little bit.
Yeah, it's a pain. But,
Okay, and then
I'll
the
do it.
next, and after you guys kind of tweak that, let's see, I'm going to have you make, I'm going to have you put a little rectangle. We're going to end this class with a little bit of something a little bit more appealing. I want you to make a rectangle, maybe this big on your paper. This exercise that I'm having you do today, this one that I'm about to introduce, is part of a bigger exercise that we're going to do more on next week. which I found very exciting and had never heard of, called 2-in-1, the 2-in-1 method. And it's fabulous. But for the moment, I should just cut this out. That's what I'm really gonna do. Okay, give me just a second. There we are. All right. So you're gonna see a little thumbnail of a, here, hold on. Here's a little thumbnail of a tiny landscape. And you're gonna see it's gray. I'm gonna send you an up close picture so you can see it better. I want you to make a rectangle that's a bit bigger than this. So this is about 4 times the size of this. Here, I'm gonna send this over so you got it, hang on. You can really see it. Oh, you know what? Before we do this, actually, let's do one more exercise. This one's really fun too. So below your rectangle here, I'm going to have you create a kind of, that's too dark. Create a kind of lightish, we're going to do a technique, damn it. We're going to do a technique. The technique that you've been working when you were creating this is wet on dry, right? Which means that you lay down the first layer, you wait till it dries, and then you lay down the second layer. I want you to practice something called wet on wet, which is terrifying, but also really fun to do. So you're going to give yourself a little wet rectangle here of red. And then before it dries, you got to work pretty quickly. I'm going to have you add a little bit of green in there to see what happens in part of the corner.
Inside the corner or outside the corner?
On top of the wet red.
No, but inside the rectangle, no.
Yeah.
Outside.
So I just made it, sorry, I made this confusing. Don't look at this yet.
Someone wants to say hello.
Hi, Coco.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't deal with hello, Coco. Hi,
So
Coco.
sweet.
She
Oh,
got into, it's raining here, so she's got in the mud today.
I know you
Okay.
guys have had a crazy day.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can
a
you
lot
put her
crazy
closer
couple
to the
days.
camera? 'Cause
Oh, okay.
Here, hold on.
Oh,
Sorry.
so
There you are.
cute.
There you are.
Yeah,
You can take a
She's-
Coco
let me
break.
actually here. Okay, you guys can see her, right?
Look at the
Yes.
Coco.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah, she needs a bath.
We're talking about it. Mariana's little pet. Son.
Oh,
How you doing?
hi.
Hi, puppy. Puppy.
Hi, guys. Yes, we need a little puppy break.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's put down our dogs and put down our children.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So yes, make yourself a little rectangle of red. I'm going to do it again so you can really see it. Kind of medium color. You can see I'm just pulling it on. And then before the red dries, add some green right on top. So that's called wet on wet. And I want you to see what that does. It's crazy, but it makes some kind of interesting effects. So wet on wet is the color underneath is still wet when you lay the color on top. So we're still playing with complements here, right?
Oh, that isn't, it's like a marble effect.
It has a really cool marbling effect. Yes, that's what I wanted you to see. Sometimes, so wet on wet is sometimes a good technique to use, particularly if you're kind of trying to create soft edges. We're going to talk more about soft and hard edges next week. That's a whole thing in itself. Yeah, you can try with another color if you want to. Just like, it's kind of fun. Here's blue, bluish. And then let's see. Wonder what happens if you put a lighter color on top. Here's orange. You splash in some, it looks pretty. Yeah, it has a very interesting kind of, it does interesting things. And you can also do stuff like, I mean, look at, you can do this with watercolor. I'm just taking my, I'm getting some wet paint on there. I'm getting some paint, I'm getting it wet. I'm splattering. And I'm just taking my finger and flinging it. Woo! Try that as well. That's called
Oh, I like that.
tackle. That's fun. I mean, there's just all the, there's a million things we can do with this, right? But it's kind of fun to like see. Let's see if there's any others. Oh, yeah, we can also do this. You can take your blankie, wet paper towel, and blot.
Yeah,
So-
that's really cool.
Yeah, right? Try like laying down some paint and then blotting it,
Yeah, that's cool.
right? And then you can do what we call dry brushing. So that means making your brush very dry. This may be trickier for you, Jonathan, with the pats, but
Yeah.
try paint with no water. Dry brush. It's interesting. And then, of course, there's also masking. So this is special, actually, watercolor tape. I use it usually, right? So you can also do this. This is quite fun as well. You can kind of paint like, let's see, let's do something more dramatic. There we go. So, right. And then once that dries, maybe even before, peel it off. Right. Yes. So there's ways, lots of ways we can play around with edges. What you're really going to notice about watercolor is that white and unpainted areas are very important parts of areas where there are no paint are very important parts of the painting, right? So that's the key. And so we're going to end this exercise once we've stopped goofing around. Here we go. Now you're going to create, and I want you to create a, I don't want it to be this size. I want it to be this size. And you'll notice there are 3 values here, right? There are some areas. I'm going to see if I can. Your last assignment of the night. Let's see. Wait. Your last assignment of the night is to try and recreate this. So notice we've got these dark values. We've got areas that are unpainted, and we have these kind of medium value shapes, right? So there's the areas, the white areas are here. Hold on, I'm going to try them. Where's I need a marker? Hold on. I'm going to use a ballpoint pen, and then I'm going to take a picture. So you want to keep an area of your painting that has no paint at all on it, right? These shapes are white. These shapes are dark. And then the rest of this is medium. They're kind of a light to medium tone. So how do I do that? I'm going to start with a quick pencil drawing. Notice I'm kind of sketching in simply. So this is my white shape, right? There's a little bit of a white shape here. There's like a super white shape here. And then the rest of these are all kind of medium tones. So I start with a little sketch that looks like this, right? And I'm going to take a picture of both of these and send it over so you can look. Wait, right? Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to take a picture of that. There is your little landscape here. Here is this drawing. And then, yeah, you're going to start by going into your darkest areas with a little bit of gray. Notice I'm kind of struggling to got a lot of purple in here, more yellow. Notice I'm testing up here on my paper before I try to take my gray over here. And I'm doing the darkest, I'm kind of painting in the darkest areas first. Notice it's a little bit light still. So I'll probably go over these to darken them later. I'm trying to I'm using the corner of my brush to try and create the little tree trunks. I'm using the flat of my brush to do these big sweeping areas. This thing is called, this thing where the paint kind of balls up towards the bottom because I'm working on a slant, is called beading. And it's a totally helpful. We're going to practice it next week when we work on more things. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to light, I'm going to do a much lighter, I'm going to do a very light, watery version down here. I can always go darker. Oh, and look, it's my little drips. So if I touch a wet area, it's still going to drip. Okay. And then I'm going to wait till this dries and I'm going to add another darker layer on there. So let's see what you can do with this landscape as a gray. Here is the next. It is okay if you have to do this a couple times. It's okay if you lose your lights, your whites once or twice, right? It's okay. Because you're learning how to use the brush. You're learning how to mix colors. You're learning how to do a whole bunch of things. Okay. Doesn't take long to dry. So now I'm gonna mix darker. Oh, too much. That was a disaster. If I can turn this around like that. Let's see. No, too much red. No. Okay. Now I'm coming back in here. I'm going dry over wet. And I'm kind of sort of trying to create a raggedy edge. We're going to talk about this. You want water on your brush, right? Because these are trees. So they shouldn't be quite so flat. There we go. Notice that the second layer, the first layer looks really awkward. Second layer looks a little bit better because you've now pushed your values a little bit. And I can even get like kind of a little, you can even get a little darker up here. It's a little darker up here. And a little bit darker here. Whoop, much blue. There we go. And then it's kind of lighter down here. Maybe slightly darker. Here I'm kind of building up. So I'm doing a couple of things. I'm building up my darks. I'm protecting my lights. I'm working mostly wet on dry. So I have a little bit more control. When I don't, look what happens. I get this mess here. I'm using my blankie to smudge a little bit. I'm paying attention to values. All of a sudden I have a little landscape. It's cute. So we are going to, by the end of January, for sure, we're going to sort of gradually build up the demos that we do. I'm not going to spend all this time making you guys do, charts and things, but I think it's helpful at the beginning just to kind of remember how the colors work and have some practice mixing them before we dive into subjects. We'll probably start with landscapes and then go back up to move and then move into cityscapes again, which is what I think we were having a lot of fun with. Unless we have different, unless we want to do different things, I'm kind of open.
Oh, Leah, I was looking at this. You remember, that box I purchased from Costco?
Yeah.
They have a cityscape already sketched out, so I'm going to try to just fill in the colors on that.
Cool. Yeah, try.
I can send you the picture for it if you want of the template.
And we've got about just 5 more minutes. So just work for another 5 minutes. See where you get to. And if you want to see, this actually isn't a exercise in black. This isn't a black and white original. Here's the original. It's in blue.
Oh, wow.
You're more inspired by, I wanted you to see it. It's this one. There. So if you want to try it in blue, you're welcome to try it in blue as well. But I want you to start with gray just because grays are easier, right? Black and white, variations of black and white are easier. I'm going to take a picture of this. And you can see that all these are using darks and lights in different organizations to create different emphasis on the landscape. It's interesting, isn't it? That's what we're going to talk about next week. I'm fascinated by this. All right, Jonathan, so Jonathan and Paul, I'm going to add you to the beginning drawing class on Friday nights. You don't have to join the thread, but I might as well put you on it.
Okay.
Why not? Mariana, you're on Thursday already. Do you want to be added to anything?
In February, yes, I have to finish the therapy.
You got it.
Yeah, I'm booked
How
with
is the
therapy the
therapy
whole
doing?
month
Is
of
it
January.
working? Is it helping?
Oh my God, I will tell you I will tell you on January 31st.
I bet it's good.
It's very busy. It's a lot. It's a lot. That's what I'm gonna say right now. I have been doing it for 10 days already, I think.
But it helps, right? Is it helping?
It's overwhelming at this point. I hope I will feel better after finishing it. Yes. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming because it's a lot of work. So you gotta do the exercises pretty much every day. And I haven't canceled my other classes. So
Oh,
yeah.
God,
It's a lot.
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
All
I'm
right.
all for.
You're basically working all the time. Well, this can be your relaxation.
It is. That's why I jump in today because I needed something that is not exercise. Yeah.
Right. That's not like, well, it is exercise, but a different kind, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exercise for the mind or whatever. So yes, so I will try to join on the Monday class in February.
That's
I want to do that with
love
Lotto.
it. Lotto is doing great. He had a fabulous class. I loved it.
Yeah, and I'm also going to join the series class on the weekends.
Yeah, that's going to be more of what you already know, which is nice. Let's see. All right. Let me see. Hold on. Sorry, I lost it. I was adding a. Let's see, Jonathan. How did it go? Hey, that's terrific. There you go. You got it. You got it. I know it's far from being able to totally control it, right? And you might want to kind of pull, there's these, the only thing I see here when I'm looking at this, when you look at this area, is that this should be attached, right? This should go up because these are tracks that are coming down. So there's kind of a continuous,
Cool.
right, vertical. Try adding a little bit of just take the tip of your brush like
Yeah.
this. Yeah, the corner. And kind of pull down in a couple of those areas. Not everywhere. Nice. We'll talk more about this. Very good. Anybody else want to send theirs?
Well, mine is kind of embarrassing, but
Okay. All right, so Paul, you're fine. Just pull down. Just take the corner and pull down. A little dark. You did okay. Take the corner of your brush and pull down a couple of little, right? Tree trunk strokes.
are those trees?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were either.
There you go. All right. So there you go.
It was more of an abstract than
I
a
love that.
landscape.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. All right. So you can see here, this is the color version. Good job, you guys. In a way, it's kind of better when you don't know what it is. Oh my God, that's so funny. Here it is. There it is in color. You can see it better in color, I think. Good job. Mariana, you got something to show me?
Oh, it's horrible, but I will.
That's all right. We're not looking for fabulous. Let's hold them up. Just hold up. This was just like to kind of prep us for next week. It wasn't to like really get into this exercise. And if you didn't know what it was, even more confusing, right? Oh, here we go. Yep. Yep. All right. So we're going to be working. Now, show me your favorite thing you did in class tonight. Is it your gray? Is it your...
Oh, I like the gray. Yes, I like the gray that I did.
Hold it up. Hold up whatever you like that you did in class that you like.
Where is it, the gray?
Yeah. Yeah, Paul, you got some beautiful grays there. Those are stunning. Jonathan, how about you? What do you like the best?
I like the wet on wet.
Yeah, the wet on wet was so cool, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we will see you guys next week. We're going to continue on with basics. Was this helpful to everybody? A good beginning?
It was
Yeah.
great.
Good.
Yeah.
And kind of relaxing, right? So not so stressful, like we have to. I mean, Jonathan, you should have seen it by the end. Here, I'm going to stop the recording now, actually, because we don't need to see it. By the